Welcome back to another episode of the Tier 1 podcast. I'm your host, Brent Tucker, owner of FRCC. Go to frcc.shop and use promo code Tier 1 to get 15% off the world's best coffee, cigars, and bourbon.
And I'm Drew Tucker. I am the shirt folding inspector at frcc.shop. That's First Responder Coffee, Cigar, and Cask Company. I invite you to join the Patreon here at the Tier 1 podcast. It's brought to you by Cobalt Kinetics. You get behind the scenes content. There's a fitness forum. There's a weapons forum. And in that weapons forum, there is a Cobalt Kinetics gun expert to give you great advice. It's a great community, so join the Patreon.
And as always, this episode is brought to you by Human Performance TRT. Go to hp-trt.com for all your testosterone and peptide needs. Don't wait any longer. Get your blood work done. It's overseen by a doctor. It's done the right way. Make this year the year you get back in the best shape of your life. I'm doing it right now. All right, Drew, let's do it.
For the Special Forces Regiment.
Welcome to the Tier 1 podcast.
This is amazing, dude. Check this out, right?
And with us today, we have James Hatch, former SEAL Team 6 operator, assaulter, canine handler. You did boats. You're on the Naval Parachute Team. You've had quite a career, and you're also an instructor at Yale University.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity, man. It's good to be here. I brought a book.
Oh man, I love.
You know how to read. I didn't know about Army guys, you know.
I read slow, but I get it done. I love this. I can't believe I haven't read this yet, to be honest with you. So it's really cool that
Well,
you gave it to me.
if I might, you do read it. You talk about things with people who've been in the consequences. And what I found when I went to Yale was that I found myself in those places. And you're doing that here. And so maybe the combination will be something.
I'll tell you why it's funny why I say I can't believe I haven't read that book yet, because one of the most influential books I ever read was Gates of Fire.
That'll fire you up, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
As for someone with, a warrior heart, warrior ethos, especially in today's society, someone with that type of mindset, you almost feel like you're the odd one out. Like there's something wrong with you. And then you read that book from a warrior culture and a warrior society, and you're like, no.
That's where I belong. Yeah.
That's where I belong. And guess what? That culture may get smaller, but it'll never leave. There will always be young men that are willing and want to do that type of work, because it's necessary. We have to.
Yeah. 2,500 years ago, they wrote that.
I love it.
Here we are. And I promise, when you read it, you'll see yourself. You'll see.
I can't wait to get into that. Then I will give you something back.
Nice.
This is from Brotherhood Blades.
Oh, yeah.
Give you a gift.
Oh, my gosh.
It's got the Tier 1 podcast logo engraved on there to commemorate your time.
Stout piece of kit, man. Look at that.
And last but not least, some creatine gummies from Tasty Gains.
I could probably stand to eat this whole bag right now. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I love what they've recently come out with the mental health benefits of a focus and things like that with creatine, as well as
I could use some of that.
Physical. So want to give that to you. I mean,
thank you.
Absolutely.
This might help me out with those damn kids in the class. That's hard staying up.
Yeah. I can't wait to get into that, because I think that's so unique, and I love that you're doing that. I don't want to say that you are molding young minds, because when you say it like that, it almost seems like someone has an intention that they want to bring people a certain way. And I don't think young minds should be molded, although I could argue that as well. But I think what they really need is just to be challenged. I don't think they're getting truly challenged. They're getting challenged by a side or people who want to influence them, rather than just challenge them and say, hey, these are the facts on both sides. Let's talk it out with logic and reason.
I actually think, I think you're right, but I think what's interesting about that is that what they don't get exposed to are the consequences, right? In fact, most of what's talked about, it seems like to me, is, out in the future in the ether somewhere. And there seems to me a confusing part in the university right now. Is it to actually is it a job factory, right? Or is it to solve problems that we have? And I'm on to solve problems that we have. So what can my knuckle dragger ass bring to Yale, right? Well, I got to go there and be a student, so I see how they do business, and the way they do business is the right way.
Love that.
What they lacked was guys like us.
Yeah.
Now, they did have guys, and they do consistently have guys there that they don't talk to, they're there studying, getting a graduate degree, but they're not exposed to the students like I am.
Right. I was going to say what they lack is it's true diversity.
It's so funny you say that. When
I'm not against diversity.
Right.
We're just not actually doing diversity.
Well, we pay it lip service. So, for example, the second class this last semester, I had a police officer come who'd been involved in an act of force, and he brought his dog, actually. Yeah. And the department gave us the video, and we ran the class, and the kids were like, "Holy shit, are all cops like you? You seem really nice." And he's like, "Yeah, pretty much. We're just regular people, right?"
Yeah.
But they've never met cops. And then at the end, they all wanted to shake hands, and when they meet somebody that's got a heartbeat that changes everything. We can talk about theory, but when you look somebody in the eye, and this was right after that woman was shot in Wisconsin, right?
I've said that on this podcast and on the live all the time, and we talk about politics. Of course, it's part of the
politics is everything.
It's life, To hide from politics is ridiculous.
I agree,
but I've always said this. I really do think that if both sides talked more, they'd realize we have more in common than we have apart. And,
100%.
What's that saying? If we agree with 90%, well, you're 90% my friend. If the 10% we disagree on, somehow we've turned this into 10% we disagree on. You're 100% my enemy.
You are my enemy, and we can't talk to each other. Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's funny. I think that is something interesting about Yale. Is I believe that they are in the business of building humans, especially among the undergraduates. Mm-hmm. These kids, they're not messing around. Like they are. I tell buddies from my former life, they're like right out of green team. They are ready to get after it, and it is no joke. So when you like being involved in that, like it can't. You know how it is.
Yeah.
You see that kind of fire, that ferocity. It's a beautiful thing. It's different, but I get to help build them by bringing them things that nobody else can. Yeah. And what goes back to what you're saying. I think it's exposure to the consequences. I think that's the short stick, right?
This whole country has had a lack of dealing with consequences, and this is unpopular to say, and I don't care because I know it's true.
Thank you.
It's not your fault that you drink too much. It's alcoholism. You have a sickness. No, you don't. These are the consequences to your actions. I can't pay attention. Like I have a focus problem. Really? Because
jump out of an airplane.
Because something else you're doing in life shows that you do have focus when you care. You just choose when to focus and when not to focus. And we go down the line. PTSD. I have PTSD. I can't control it. And all these things. I'm speaking generally.
No, I'm with you.
But it's not my fault that I'm acting like an a-hole to everyone. I have PTSD. No, they've just used these things as a free pass rather than taking responsibility and owning up. And those are the consequences.
Dude, I was one of those guys. I spent
We all-
a few
we
years.
all
No,
have
I spent
been.
years
Yeah.
in wallowing and I'm a monster. All these things I fucked up. I did. I really, and it was almost like, okay, if I'm like this, people care about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think though it's enabled by the culture a little bit, and I think we can do it to ourselves.
Not only is it enabled, it's it's encouraged.
I agree.
We wear these things like a badge of honor. People want to have that. Here's an unpopular thing that people don't.
Yeah.
People want to have PTSD. People are going to look
It's
at me and
ubiquitous.
be like, "How dare you?" Like, it's the most ridiculous thing I said.
Yeah.
And they'll pick one person out. That's not what I'm talking about. Because they want to have it. When I talk, they wear it like a badge of honor. Like I was in the thick of it, and this is the proof of it. You know. And I don't know why people want to have ADHD so bad, but they love telling everyone that they have it. Now it's if there's not something wrong with you, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I remember I was in a mental hospital, one of a couple I spent some time in, and we were in a group therapy session, and this woman, young woman, she was Hispanic, I remember, sat up straight, her shoulders were back, she was tears running down her face, man, and she set her jaw, and the theme of this particular group session was, what was the event that put you in this hospital? Why did you want to kill yourself? Why did you not want to be around anymore? Yeah. And she said, Christmas Eve, I was 11 years old, and my uncles raped me in front of my dad. They got drunk.
Yeah.
And I'm, right. So thank God there's a counselor in there. This is not unheard of. This is, it is to me. I mean, I've seen some things, but I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So after the whole thing's over, I'm limping back to my little room where I've been feeling sorry for myself. And I'm like, all right, listen, I got shot in the leg doing a job I love with people I consider to be my family.
Yeah.
And I volunteered for all that shit.
Right.
That little girl didn't volunteer for shit. And look at
Yeah.
her. That was she's 11 years old. She's not going to let that ruin her life. That woman, who I'll never see again, probably doesn't remember me. Yeah. She showed me courage. And I'm supposed to be a tough guy, SEAL Team 6 operator,
Yeah. And that's that point you just made is exactly what I'm talking about with my point. I said generally, there are a lot of real situations out there, and if resources are finite, let's let people with real problems get the majority of the resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not denying that people don't have problems. They absolutely do.
Sure.
But man, we gotta triage this at some point.
Right. Well, I mean, like you've talked about this at great length, and so it's worth fucking talking about again. I go to the VA, and sometimes I'll go there, and a guy will go by me on a scooter, and hey man, what happened to your leg? I'm like, I got shot in the leg. He's like, oh man, I just broke my ankle on the ship, and dude, you can get one of these scooters. And I'm like, I'd rather get shot again than ride around on a fucking scooter, But that's like, that dude was proud that, you know what I mean?
I know, it's crazy. Well,
anyway, sorry, don't.
No, you're good. We're gonna spend so much time talking on the live and in the garage, smoking cigars after this. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't smoke a cigar because I'll throw up, but I'll I can act like it. I can chew on it.
Perfect.
I can smoke some weed. Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
And I'm always interested in this because it's funny. We even touched on diversity early on. Everyone at a tier 1 unit, to some degree, it's almost cookie cutter. Like we'll just say the quiet part out loud. There's a lot of 6 foot tall white guys working at conservatives working at tier 1 units. It's cookie cutter.
Yep.
When you start pulling those layers back, you also find out there's a lot of diversity and backgrounds that get people to this highest level of our military. So what's in your background?
So I think one of the things, because of the mental health stuff, we were just speaking about it. I remember one day in SEAL training, the time I made it through, I went once and decided to leave early on voluntarily. I had this thing ringing the bell. It's like a seizure or something. But the Navy, they sent me out to the fleet, which is a ship, and a ship is like jail, except you can drown. And out there, I had to do work I didn't want to do with people I didn't like. And then I went back to SEAL training. Anyway.
You know how crazy that is that you quit SEAL training once and ended up at SEAL Team 6?
It's really funny. I told the story one time and a buddy of mine who's a Master Chief had been the master chief at Bud's. And he's like, look, man, you got to know how elite you are. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, of the people that, this is like 10, 15 years ago, of the people that quit and that we let come back, 8% make it. I'm like, oh, that's elite. I wish I'd have just fucking done it the first time. Because that 3.5 years of my life. Yeah. You know what the difference was? I had no confidence. I had none. Like when I left to join the service, there wasn't anybody like, it was like, you're a pussy. Yeah. That helped me a little bit.
I'm not surprised by that. I think there will be different reasons for this motivation, but everyone has something to prove. And so as you look into it, you just find what was the origin of that something to prove.
Yeah. It's kind of sad when you get down to it.
Being bullied, being smaller, whether being a little bit slow. We've had guys on the show before. They're like, man, I was borderline stupid in school. Like school was so hard for me. He's one of the smart, and you'd never know it. But they took that challenge at some point and said, I'm going to prove myself.
It's like the island of misfit toys. You know what I mean? Like really.
So what do you think it was for you?
For me, it was the stuff when I was a kid. And I didn't realize that until probably 4 or 5 years ago when I started doing the plant medicine and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Because what came to me, the things I did in combat, which were I thought, I made some mistakes and innocent people got hurt. I made mistakes and put my buddies in bad situations. I felt guilty about getting shot, losing the dogs, the helicopters, people having to expose themselves to fire to help me out. I had all those things, but when it really came down to it, it was that when I was a kid, I was bouncing around a little bit. I ended up with a family, and they were good people, but they had, and the woman in particular, had been through some really brutal shit, and I didn't know that. But my first memories were her. She had me by the shoulders, and I was looking up at her, and she was fucking pounding me into the floor, and she was screaming, she was crying, and I couldn't remember. I just didn't understand, And there were other times that she was really brutal, and the police would get involved. And I was really scared of her, man. Like she was pretty frightening. And as I got older, it made me angry because I was weak and I couldn't do anything for myself. And it made me want to hurt fucking people.
Yeah.
And I mean, really. And not like I wasn't a brawler. Like I didn't do, I wanted terminal violence. I want the kind that ends in somebody doesn't go home, right? Like that's what I was aching for. And I didn't realize that until just a few years ago. Like and when I got into combat finally, it was everything I wanted, man.
Yeah.
I fucking loved it. And you know what? This year, this was the third class I've taught at Yale. This last semester was the first time I admitted to the kids how much I loved it. Because I was scared to do that.
Yeah.
And then none of them ran out of class.
This is what I hope people hear and realize. And I've said it before. It's not that bad things happen to you. It's what are you going to do about it? And if you really break it down and you really look at it, and whether you want to believe this or not, I'm here to tell you it's the only way to look at it, because you have two paths. It's either if something bad happens to you, even extremely, as a child at any point, you can choose for that to define you and just be a broken man the rest of your life, or you can use that for fuel and motivation to make sure that never happens and you become something. If people with a very soft life are never challenged, what's their reason to grow?
Yeah. I feel bad for that kind of folks. I mean,
people want it. And people want it.
That makes me sad.
I wish I had money. I wish I had this. I wish I grew up in a big house. I wish
I say all that shit too.
Don't get me wrong. What's the joke? Lord, you've put me through enough. But, how about my next challenge is how well can I do with a lot of money?
Exactly. Right? Let's see how I do. Just give me a run. Yeah. No, I feel you. I think too, another reason, honestly, this is true, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I say it the first day of class. I stand up in front of these kids and I'm like, look, man, I love my country. Where else in the world does a fucking guy like me stand up in front of people like you?
Yeah.
what other country in the world can a kid who got bounced around, lived in trailer parks, fucking joined the military the day he turned 17, went to college, started college when he was 52.
Wow.
How the fuck do I end up in this room with you? I love my country. And dude, I'm pissed off. I don't particularly care for the president or, I don't consider myself like a left-wing guy, but like I love and we're flawed. But what you said earlier, we got to fucking talk about it.
Right.
Right? Like, come on now,
The other thing you touched on is what I think we're lacking is just gratefulness. We have so much to be grateful. It doesn't mean we turn a blind eye to everything that's wrong, but we have somehow, I think just culturally, everything's been so good for so long, and the only thing we look at is the negatives and something that's wrong,
true.
Something to attach yourself as a cause and purpose, when those things should be the minority because we should always strive to be better. We've just lost gratefulness.
Yeah, I think, you opened something there, right? Like people talk about the press a lot. And I know some people in the press, some very famous people in the press, and they do a good fucking job. It's kind of frightening what they have to go through to validate and make sure, verify, and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, the press this. The press provides you a service. They know what you click on. They know what you watch. They know, despite whatever you say about how you want positive news and, you want blood and death and porn. If you take the data, that's
right
what
corner of
people,
the data.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, so as a culture, how do we impact it? I don't know. I'm just a little guy dragging knuckles around Yale, but I think, but I believe that it's people in the consequences, in the ditch. And I'm not just talking about the military. I'm talking about people in these like difficult pro-life, these types of arguments, like the people that have skin in the game, right? They talk about it, right? We have to. Or we can end up like, pick a country we visited. I mean, right? Like,
right. It goes back, and I think that's why it's a little bit easier for us to be grateful. I think a lot of these people that aren't, the only thing they know is America, and the only thing they think they know is how good everywhere else does it or has it, and they have no idea. Every time I left this country, I couldn't wait to step foot back on American soil.
There was one time I came back from Amsterdam, and I landed in Atlanta, and the girl, because you're used to the service in Europe, and you come back and you're hungry, you get off the airplane and you want a burger or something, you walk up and the girl's like, and I'm like, can I order? Sure. That was the only time. Sorry, I had to get it out there.
I get that. I get that. It's why I'm looking to maybe go somewhere else. You don't have to be around that. America's a big place.
Exactly.
You can
Andy's
pick and
got you
choose.
moving into his zip code up there, has he?
That
wouldn't be a hard argument,
It wouldn't. Here at the Tier 1 Podcast, we're excited to have Tasty Gains as a sponsor, a company with values that aligns with ours. I take their products every day, 3 times a day. And if it wasn't a product that I didn't take personally and believe in, and a company with integrity, then they wouldn't be sponsors on this show. Creatine helps the body produce more ATP, which is an energy molecule that your entire body runs on. It helps improve your physical and mental performance in all aspects of life. Let's be honest, creatine powder sucks to take every day. With the creatine gummies, you can take them with you anywhere, and they taste great. Every batch is third-party tested, so you know you're getting exactly what you pay for. Go to tastygains.com and enter the promo code TIER1. That's TIER, the number 1, and get 20% off your order. You talked about in and out of just a hard childhood, in and out of trailer homes. What made you join the Navy?
So I actually joined the Army. I
knew
I grew up in the
you.
70s, 80s, right? So I was born in the 60s, and I grew up as Vietnam guys, and Green Berets were everything.
Yeah.
And John fucking
Still
Wayne was a Green Beret. I was talking to one of the lacrosse kids. I'm like, Green Berets, they're smart, but I'm talking all this shit. Actually, what's funny, talking to these kids, I'm like, every one of these crews is a bad motherfucker, and you do great getting in any of them.
Absolutely.
So that reminds me. Sorry, I wrote Charlie Beckwith a letter when I was in high school. He was in Texas. I read this book called Delta Force.
I read that book.
And I said, I want to join the military, but I don't know if I should be a Marine or a Green Beret or what. And he wrote me back and he said, whatever you decide to do it all the way. That was all he really said. And I'll never forget that, man.
He wrote you back.
He did.
That's awesome. How'd you get his address?
I've looked in the, we had this thing, like in the book, he had like his business.
Okay.
And we used to have this thing called an encyclopedia and a phone book. And I could get in there in that phone book and I could find things. So, and I just winged it. Right? I think I actually probably wrote the letter with a crayon. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
But
that's
like,
so cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Anyway, so I wanted to be a Green Beret. I went to Fort Leonard Wood and went to boot camp. I joined the day I turned 17.
Okay.
And I talk about it in my class. I grew up in Utah. The only people of color in Utah were the Utah Jazz. I had never spoken to a person of Asian descent, a black person. I couldn't point to Puerto Rico on a map. My drill sergeant was Puerto Rican, and I couldn't understand him. And I had this problem when I got nervous, I would laugh, and that's the last thing you want to do to a drill sergeant, right?
Yeah.
Dude, brutal. You want to talk about cultural awareness? And that's the thing that bothers me. Like sometimes, when I first got to Yale in 2019, George Floyd, COVID, that kind of stuff was going on. It was heavy. I felt more like racial tension on that university campus than I ever felt in 26 years in the military.
Yeah.
And I tell the kids, I'm like, look, man, I was on the bus with people I had never met that came from places I didn't even know existed. And they were all colors. And all I know is we got off the bus and getting screamed at and we're doing push-ups together and I'm looking at this dude and he's looking at me like, what are we doing? There's something to be said for that approach.
Yeah.
you know?
When all that was happening, and I get it. I only know what I know. I can only tell you what I've experienced.
Yeah.
And just for me and my experience, those things were happening. But for me in my everyday life, I never saw it.
Yeah.
I never saw those tensions. That doesn't mean they don't exist. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. But I'd talk to my friends, and no one else was really seeing it. So what I really mean by that is, I'm not saying it was all fabricated and didn't exist, but because, like you talked about, the media pushes what
they got to pay the bills.
What people want to consume. I do believe it ended up kind of amplifying it to make people think that it was a much worse situation than it really was, when everyday Americans get along just fine.
Yeah. I do believe, and this is something that changed my mind at Yale. I took a couple of African-American literature classes from a redheaded woman from Kentucky who went to Harvard. She was my dean. Her name is Sarah, and she kicked me in the jewels on the regular. But she taught African-American literature. And when I got in there and I started reading, like the first class is African-American autobiography. And I'm a patriotic dude. I'd never read W.E.B. Du Bois. I'd never read Maya Angelou. I'd never read any of that stuff. And when I got in there, again, I didn't sit at a table with these people, but I sat at my table with and when Maya Angelou talks about being raped by some, as a child, there's a courage to that. There's something extra in there. And growing up, it's funny because the kids ask me, like the black guys that you live on the ship with you or whatever, like, what did you, I'm like, we didn't get into cultural issues. We weren't talking about the nuances of the civil rights marches. We probably should have been, right? Like we probably all could have used a little bit of education, but we were just like day-to-day knuckle dragger shit, Yeah. Those classes helped me see why, and I do believe this now, that generational shit, how that affects like violence and purposely breaking up families and that kind of shit.
I do.
That has a long-term effect.
Yeah.
But again,
yeah.
I agree with you insofar as there's a certain amount of money to be made by keeping people in that anger because we know what people click on, right? And so if we can point out somebody who's going to incite that anger and a lot of people make money off that.
It just got proved just last month with the I don't want to say it wrong. The Southern Law Poverty Institute, where it was proven that they were funding these organizations that they're supposed to hate to ensure that they fueled this dissent. And of course, it's the irony of that is, if racism is so scarce that you have to go around and stir it up, well, maybe it's not as
Yeah,
Maybe
I
it's
don't
not as
think
prevalent
it's-
as you thought it was.
I don't think it's scarce. I think there's plenty of it, but of all kinds. And so we
me
get
to
caught
it.
in this,
Right.
I think we're all racist, everybody. But I think realizing it and saying, okay, I can see how this might come. The kids, cultural this and that, and I talk about in the military knuckle dragger world. I'm like, you know how I learned that you don't call a young black man boy? I called a young black man boy. And he looked me in the face and said, if you call me that again, I'm going to fucking break your nose.
Yeah.
And I said, why? And he goes, because where I come from, that's what the old white guy used to call people that I can't. And I'm like, oh, shit, right?
Yeah.
There's something to be said for that kind of cultural indoctrination as well, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah. Anyway.
But you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
But once you do know it, it's now. It's
Now what do you got?
Now, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry. Keep going with the Army.
So I went to boot camp. It was so cool, and all I could think about was being a Green Beret. And then I went to jump school right after, 1984.
Okay.
Reagan was president, and I went to Fort Benning, and I got in the company, and I was the youngest guy there, so they made me the keeper of the wings, that little pouch with the wings in it, and they made me the guidon bearer. And I grew up at like 5,500 feet. I could fucking run, and the company commander was a ranger, so to me, he was a deity, right? Like I read stories about these guys. He was a captain. He probably never done a damn thing in his life, but to me, that dude was,
That's right.
And he would run with me, and he would pull me out ahead, like to see. I think he wanted to push himself a little bit, and I could. That was a gazelle. I was 17. I weighed like $130, And towards the end of jump school, he said to me, Hatch, sometimes there's these guys that come through here that are a little different. You're kind of like that. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, they're Navy. I'm like, the Navy?
Yeah.
He said, well, no, they're called Navy SEALs. And I said, I don't know what that is. He said, yeah, well, you got to look into it. That was it. So I went home, and again, we didn't have the internet. We had this thing called the encyclopedia.
Right.
So I get in there,
Right.
and there's a picture of a dude standing on the beach with a fucking machine gun, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that was the depth of my choice to switch.
Okay.
That was it.
Did you do an inter-service transfer?
Yeah, but so what it was is I joined the Guard. So
Okay.
it was between my junior and senior year of high school.
Okay.
And so when I got back, I went to the Navy recruiter, and I'll never forget his name. And I got a lot of brain damage. But this dude, I had to have the guy in charge of recruiting west of the Mississippi sign my waiver. I was a bit of a criminal.
Yeah.
And this guy, Cecil Kessler was his name. He wrote everything up, and it took a lot. He had to do a lot of work. And then I went in the Navy, and it was a very different world, folding your clothes and putting it in a drawer as opposed to walking around with a rucksack on your back.
You graduated jump school though with the Army, correct?
Yeah.
So that's got to make you a little different. I know it's weird, when at our level, like when you talk about like, not saying they don't respect jump school, but like you have so many schools.
No, it's
but
true.
At that beginner level, for you to come in with airborne wings already, it's got to separate you.
It was so, I was so proud of that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, I don't think I had enough wherewithal to figure out that it helped me or hurt me. I don't think it really helped me much because I was kind of cocky, which nobody likes, especially if you're a new meat.
Yeah. But you need that to a certain degree. Like anything else, everything in moderation.
Right.
But if you don't have a little bit of cockiness, then you would never believe you're good enough to go be a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret or whatever it is.
I'm curious with you and people, and I talked to former colleagues. Did you, as a kid, did you like push it out to where you could get hurt, maybe even really hurt, just to fucking push it?
No. You know what's funny about that? I was scared to go on roller coasters as a kid.
Holy shit, man. What happened? When did you start the heroin?
Now, I was adventurous. Don't get me wrong. I had, and it helped that I had an older brother.
Oh, well.
My older brother, he would go do things that someone, when you're 6, a 9-year-old's going to go do things that you wouldn't do as a 6-year-old, but you can do it with your brother. So we'd ride bikes all over the place. We fought constantly. I had that, but as far as risk taking or like really pushing it, I played it on the safe side for a long time. When I turned 16, I got into cars. And then pushing fast cars and speed and that adrenaline started it.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 happened, and I had enough hate in my heart to say I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, man.
There you go. There's your answer. It's a good question. I don't think anyone's ever really asked me that directly.
But it's interesting though, at that point, like, and so many of us, I mean, I was obviously in far before 9/11, but from our units, that was, that was the trigger. And I tell the kids in my class, and actually, do you know John Ryan? I bet you've met him. Have you ever been to the 9/11 Memorial Museum? He's the guy who was the cop who handled the cleanup after the buildings came down. He was there.
Yeah.
He handled the whole cleanup, helped redesign what's now Ground Zero, and he helped build the museum. And he goes to Gitmo, takes victims' families to Gitmo to watch them testify.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, but I take my students down because none of them were born. Think about that.
I know.
They weren't
That's
born.
crazy.
So I take them down there and I say, look, there's a chunk of a video, Edna Cintron. Edna Cintron. You can get on YouTube and look at it. She was above where the plane impacted. Mm-hmm. And she's standing there in her work clothes and she's waving, like trying to get help. And when that plane went through, it cut all the exits. There was no way. Everybody above that died. And she's standing there waving. And you can see her. Like, she just fucking went to work. And I told my class, I said, at that point, point me in the direction of who thought that was a good idea, and I will kill every one of them. Right? Yeah. Like, that was so, that was such a big deal, but I don't think everybody felt that way.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at. Like, you're I might die. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Like, something's got to get done, And that's why we need really good leaders.
Absolutely. And the other thing about that is it's always until you're faced with a real challenge, you can always have these, espoused values. Oh, well, if that was me, I'd do that. I'd go tackle that active shooter in a school. Would you?
Would you now? Yeah.
I've done a lot. I think I would. I don't know.
I've been in the business of consequences long enough to know that.
And that's right. And nobody knows until you're faced with it. And I have seen men stand tall that I never thought would.
Yeah.
And I saw some of the larger than life men not go where they're supposed, where I thought they would go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life's
It's interesting
funny
to
like
see that. I think the number one thing is surrounding yourself with people that are true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, the higher you go, the harder that is. The better the chance is, of someone doing that. Yeah. And but even then, it's not 100%.
Yeah,
it never is. There's always that human aspect to it.
I think we did something right though by going through those extra vetting processes.
Yeah,
and I say that about Yale, and I don't care if people think I'm fucked up. I don't care if they think I'm arrogant. I'm not arrogant.
Right.
The more you put people through, the more of a vetting process you put them through, the better quality you get out of the other side. It's just the bottom line. I'm not saying the better quality human overall. I'm saying for that specific thing that you're aiming at, like you need that, and it's important. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of discussions about meritocracy, right? And they're really good discussions. Mm-hmm. But the proving part, there's something to that. Most of the discussions around meritocracy have to do with opportunity. But when we talk about meritocracy, we had the opportunity to go to this kind of training, knowing full well we're going to get our nuts kicked in, right? We had this opportunity and we took it, and we got through it. There's merit to that. So sometimes the arguments are about not everybody gets opportunity, which is true, right?
What do you mean when you say not everyone gets the opportunity? In the military?
No. The military is completely different. See, that's why I think the military and special operations in particular is a really good example right now. But if you go to school and you haven't fucking eaten, you're not going to, that takes away some opportunities.
Right.
Right. So, but hold on. I'm not saying, well, we need to buy breakfast for every kid in America. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to point out that there are things that affect people that will not allow them.
Yes.
Or like this, some of the kids who come from like more rural areas and less wealthy kind of areas, there's a language that comes with academia, just like there is in the military. And if you don't speak that language a certain way, you don't know about grants. You don't know about these opportunities. You don't know how to navigate that system. That isn't because you don't want to. It's just
Right.
you haven't had access to it.
Yeah.
And so those arguments are valid, but they sound redundant.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying there. This mindset that we've put out as a country, which is, I think it's one of the worst things you can tell a young person, is follow your dreams, do what you love, and I will tell you why.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with going down that road, because if that works out, great.
Right.
Great if that works out. But we also have to live in reality, and not everyone's going to go on to be in the music industry. Not everyone's going to go play in the NFL. Right. You know what I mean? Like at some point, chase it. I would never tell someone to not chase it, but we say it in a way that it's that or nothing else. When we also have to live in reality and say, hey, at some point, I'll just talk about it as a man for a second. As a man, what's more important than that is you're going to have to provide for your family, and you're going to have to at least look at the realization of what's going on and say, hey, this may not be what I want to do, but this may be what I need to do.
Yeah. Can you imagine looking at your wife, honey, I'm going to go try out for the New York Knicks. Sorry, Adam, we're not going to make rent this month.
Right.
Right. Yeah. No, I feel you.
And that's what I mean by that. And to follow up on that, which means, that's what I love about the military. I do, is that it is the nation's safety net. So let's say you're hungry and you can't.
Some people call it the spine.
Right. Yeah. And you can't be successful in college. There is something for everybody in the military.
You don't have to go out and kick doors and shoot people.
Sure don't. The chances are you won't.
The odds are very, very high that you will never see that. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how these things are interesting because of the way that I've had these discussions with kids. So when I pick kids from my class, they have to apply, right? So I get to pick.
Okay.
And I make it male, female, almost equal. And I try to pick like ROTC kids or kids that are into the finance bro culture that are a little more conservative. Okay. And then the most progressive kids I can, because that's the problem. We've talked about this earlier. We don't want to talk to each other. We don't want to be uncomfortable. These kids, you should see how they rock this shit, man. It is awesome. At first, it's a little uncomfortable, but I talk about, I'm pretty wide open. I don't try to hide anything from them. And I'm like, and look, you're going to disagree with me. I'm going to disagree with you, but we're still like, look at how lucky are we to sit in this classroom, blah, 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 blah.
We're still Americans at the end of the day, and we're on the same boat.
And when I hear people talk shit about academia in particular, I went down to Washington, D.C., and a congressman from Georgia helped me out meeting with like a bunch of the other Republican congressmen. And I went down there to tell them, look, man, academia is not the enemy of the United States, at least not Yale. I mean, I'm not everywhere, but these kids are getting after it, man. And you guys don't, like, it seems like this talk about immigration, which, by the way, I think we need a border. You're not a country without a border, right? But I also believe there's ways to handle it. I may not agree with the way it's going, but I don't know. Have I got a better idea? No, I don't know. I'm not deep enough into it. Right. But the kids in my class that are first-generation Americans are, and it's a good majority. Yale seems to find these kids.
Right.
They are grateful. They don't.
That's what I want. Grateful. I said it earlier. Grateful.
They are. I've actually sat in classrooms and just teared up and said, man, how fucking lucky are we right now? Think about it. Yeah. Like I have a young woman in my last class whose family's in Kiev, in Ukraine. Yeah. It's a courage class. I got kids in my courage class writing about her.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're trying to be college kids, ha ha ha. And she's like trying to do that too, but she's also getting bombed, right? Anyway, I'm rambling.
No,
I could do that all day.
In fact, I'm a hop around with you. Otherwise, I try not to do 4 hour podcasts.
I'm here.
And so let's
might have to pee.
Well, we got that's fine. We got a live to do after this. So I want to hit some of the
stick onto the track.
No. Let's change it up. Let's hit the high points. If you've ever been to any of my tactical training classes, then you know how adamant I am about the use of white light and the importance of a quality, high-powered tactical light. That's why I use cloud defensive tac lights. You can't hit what you can't see, and neither can the bad guys. Clearly identify your target and simultaneously overwhelm his vision with hundreds and even thousands of lumens. Get serious about defending yourself and your family. Go to clouddefensive.com and use promo code TIER1 to get 30% off your order. That's right, 30%. You won't find a better light than this, and you won't find a better deal than this. I want to get back to the your time in SEAL team, the teams real quick. And you already said, you failed Buds the first time.
I quit. Yeah, I quit.
How long before you came back to Buds again?
It was almost 4 years. So I did some time out in the fleet. Yeah.
That actually makes sense of why you were more successful the second time.
Yeah, I was pissed off. No, you're right. It helped me.
Yeah, tell me exactly what happened in those 3 to 4 years that made your second attempt.
I saw the work we were doing on the ship, and it doesn't matter where you're at. I don't care if you're in a tank, if you're a CB building shit somewhere. If you're on a ship, a submarine, whatever, any kind of airplane, like what you're doing is important, right? It is important,
right?
But for me, it was so far from the consequences. And that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to see the motherfuckers we were going to kill.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in the room with them. I didn't want to hear somebody else's story about that, right? And so that's what it helped me. Also, I had a chief that was like a hard dude.
Yeah.
Hard. And he, no bullshit. And he kind of helped me. He just got me set up. He didn't care about being a SEAL. He was an old dude from Oregon.
Yeah.
And logger, and he was a hard dude, and he really helped me harden up. It was cool. I needed it. It was character development, I guess you'd call it.
How far did you get in your first?
I was in Hell Week. I was about 10 minutes into Hell Week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was, I'm 10 minutes into Hell Week. You haven't even really suffered yet, right?
Hey, quit early. Don't quit on day 5.
Right. I got in my head, I'm like, holy shit. But what happened was, it's really funny. This guy got up, and he was the best athlete in the class. This motherfucker had done the Ironman, and he swam the breaststroke. When he swam the breaststroke, he was coming out of the water to his navel, he was just a horse. He was a really great runner. 10 minutes into, he gets up and quits, and I'm like, what? And me and about fucking 10 other idiots, we all run up there and quit. And then an hour later, I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah,
didn't matter. Navy's like, you did.
Yeah, I've said this before. Quitting is contagious, but so is staying.
100%.
You get in a good group of selection guys that just won't quit.
Yeah. I'd really like
the
to
whole
see
selection
that. I'd really like
class
to go out there and see that. I think that would be really cool to see.
Take me with you.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I would love to go.
Yeah, I'm going to try to
witness that.
I actually do believe that I'm just going to say it flat out. I believe that Yale is a tier 1 unit.
Yeah.
In the academic world, they are a tier 1 unit. In fact, I joke. I'm like, Harvard's more like the Delta guys. Right. and Yale's a lot more like the SEAL teams, a little rough around the edges.
Okay. I'll give you that.
And I try to characterize it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
going to be honest too. The Harvard people, I would say, we're the best. And they are the hardest to get into. I did a podcast because I do that too. I'm trying to be cool like you with a kid. And I'm like, hey, why'd you come to Yale? He's like, because I couldn't get into Harvard.
I say it all the time though. People from Harvard should say they're the best. And people from Yale should say they're the best. And the same aspect when I always try to, make sure that my point gets across, but they're like, who's better, Delta Force or SEAL Team 6? And I tell them real quick, Delta Force is the best. They're the best. But guess what? If you ask a guy from SEAL Team 6, he'll tell you SEAL Team 6 is the best. And he should.
Yeah.
And he would, and we both believe it, but that's what you have to have.
What's really cool is when you end up in a house, like I ended up doing stuff, combined stuff with C Squadron and BIAP, and you get in the house, you're mixed in, you don't know who's who in the zoo.
Right.
And you just, we had the barrel way, which is a little bit different, but it's the same. You could pull a guy. In fact, I remember one time we were doing one of our legacy things that I won't get into, but it's clearly heavily maritime. And we were always talking about, man, these things are so huge, blah, 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 blah. But then they brought a troop from you guys out, and we're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Right.
It's just fun. This is our,
Right. This is our legacy task.
But I got some more shit to vent about that.
Sure.
I show up at Dev Group in '94, and I'm like, oh, this is the show. This is the show. We don't have a chow hall. There's one of the guys who works there. His wife brings like a crock pot in and makes like a stew and some cornbread and shit. Don't have a chow hall. We don't have a swimming pool. And then I go down to your guys' compound and I'm like, what? They have a swimming pool.
That is ironic.
What the fuck? But part of that was that, we're the Navy. We're this 0.2% of the U.S. Navy. And they're like, who gives a fuck about these yahoos, right? You guys are the system at its pinnacle,
Right.
That worked. Yeah. That helped us,
Yeah. When you what SEAL team? Well, on the white side,
8.
what you went to SEAL Team 8?
I graduated from Bud's 164 in 1990, and I went to SEAL Team 8 that they had just started up, and I did 3, meaningless deployments there.
It's the 90s, so they
right.
So what?
I got to go to Senegal and see how the third group guys worked. It was cool.
And that's we've said it before. The SEALs versus Green Berets, Dev Group versus Delta. Those are things, and we play into them because they're fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to to poke
People
at each
click
other.
on that shit.
Right? Yeah. And not just for that. Maybe we don't do a good enough job. I don't think people ever realize we're not that serious about it. Like it's just guys giving guys a hard time. When we meet somewhere, there's nothing but respect.
Exactly.
Nothing but respect. I've never, when I was a Green Beret and SEALs came over, I was never like, oh, SEALs, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
Hey man, awesome. Oh, let me see your vehicle. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Like, is there anything I can do to help you? While you're here, like, it's just not reality.
No, it isn't. And what's really interesting too is I think oftentimes civilians, in particular, those that are kind of fanboys of the community, parse everything down into this gunfight culture, and there's so much more to it than that. Specifically with the Green Beret guys, right? Like, so on Lone Survivor, after I was at SEAL Team 8 for a while, I interviewed and went to Dam Neck in 1994, and I was we didn't have SWIC guys, boat guys, so they pulled some of us in to do that stuff, and that was what I did. So I learned how to work on and drive speedboats. Okay, and it was beaten. It was a car wreck every fucking time, but it was awesome.
I talked to a boat guy. I used to think that was kind of a cool job, like having a race boat. And he's like, you just get beat up on the water. It's brutal. Non-stop.
I've seen guys break their femur. I broke my jaw. Like it is. Yeah. It's a brute, man.
Yeah, they definitely put some realization into that job. I was like, that actually makes sense. Like, why would I think it would be fun?
It is. Well, actually,
the military ruins. Well, it can be fun. Yeah. That doesn't mean it's not dangerous.
I have launched
and the
those
worst,
boats in ways that would get me in trouble. Those things are amazing, man.
Yeah, and they are cool. Every time I see one of those things, I do stop and look at them.
I think back to what the unit stuff. One of the things that I was always bothered about coming at it from the angle that I did was like we'd go do exercises, simultaneous, different targets, right? And our training guys would set up our scenario, and your training guys would set up your scenario, because the real theme was we got to look good for the head shed.
Right.
And there's no quality in that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do believe that the training was set up in order to make us better and to kind of test us, but it wasn't full on.
Exactly.
If we would have said, hey, why don't you have the green guys come over and do the blue guys scenario and vice versa, we would have been better. And I think the reason I came to that was I met a guy on, I think, my 3rd deployment to Iraq. There'd been a blue on blue. Mm-hmm. And this guy came in, he was a squadron sergeant major, and he'd been hired to investigate blue on blue, things that had gone sideways. And that dude did not give one fuck about who was who. He was, this has to be right because the business we're in is serious and all this other stuff needs to go away. That attitude, I think, is very important.
It is. And it has to be. And I really can't speak to your side because we did ruts together, and we'd have guys come strapping on deployments and things, and always great. But the culture of you guys, I couldn't really speak of. But that is the culture of the Delta Force, almost professional to a fault at times. Yeah. But if you're going to err on one side or the other, that's that's the side you have to be on.
I think so. And also the aggressive side, if you're in the kind of work that we did. You know?
Absolutely.
And I tell the students in my class, man, if you're gonna mess up, do it being aggressive.
Right.
I won't punish you as hard for being aggressive.
Yeah.
And I can punish these kids, you know. Like,
Right. I know, I get what you're saying. And I say it all, I don't care when people mess up. You're going to mess up. I care, why'd you do it? What was your intent? That means way more to me.
what's motivating? Yeah.
Right. That means way more. Two people could do the very same thing.
Yeah.
One person with good intentions, one with selfish intentions.
Right.
And you'll have two very different outcomes. And we see that in the house all the time. You can do a tactic right, but then now you have to, why'd you do that tactic?
Right.
And if your why was incorrect, well, you got lucky there, but the next time you see this, you'll do it wrong.
And here's why we do it this way.
Here's why we do it this way.
This has been learned by somebody's skull getting,
Right.
right? And that's a hard place to be, right?
Well, you talked about, you were part of a couple large events. One being Red Wings. I'd just gotten into country on my ODA into Bagram.
Oh, hell, welcome.
When Red Wings happened. In fact, do you know where Camp Ouellette was?
Yeah.
My ODA was it was an overflow camp for us. So we stayed in
What
camp.
group?
I was on 20th group at the time.
Okay.
So we stayed in Camp Ouellette waiting to go to our fire base when that happened. And you want to talk about tough to watch all those guys, walk around. So I only say that, and that was from a distance.
Yeah.
You actually had to go there.
Yeah.
And help with the recovery operations.
Yeah. This thing has played large in my life since. And I remember one time, you'll have to bring me back because of the brain damage, but I remember one time I was doing a skydiving thing with some veterans groups, and there was a kid from the 2nd Ranger Battalion who was also there. And he said, and he recognized me. And he said, "Hey, Jimmy, man, did you guys, like that, every guy from our crew that was on board on that mission either got wounded or killed. Like that was a bad luck thing for us."
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it, and we weren't the same. There were less of us.
Right.
But it affected me till this morning even. Like I think about that, and you went back to, the culture. There was never a full-on community after-action report in the Naval Special Warfare community about that mission. What there was a book written, and there was an opportunity taken at the expense of some good men.
Yeah.
That I think set the tone for what's followed on.
There's two reasons why I hate that. One, just I've said it before. If anyone's followed me, I'll die on this hill. But again, what's your intent? It's not for clicks and views.
Right.
I'm not a very big podcast. If that was my intent, well, then I failed miserably at it. I firmly believe that the military is the last bastion of respect in this country. Law enforcement's lost it because of the actions of a few.
The actions of a few, and also some people in leadership. I love President Obama, but he made it okay for people to dehumanize another group of people, and that's law enforcement.
That's absolutely
and once
right,
that happened, then the cops, they don't do themselves any favors, but they're also fucking human beings.
Right.
Right. And then the people who manipulate those things create the baggage.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't put them in situations where they have to make decisions that they didn't want to. I don't want to get sidetracked too much on this, but it's like when it comes to problem solving, let's say you're a doctor and you have to diagnose properly, or else whatever you administer won't have the effect.
It's not going to fix what the problem is.
And one of the biggest problems was compliance. Just
exactly.
Everyone's running a pretty good, I would dare say 100% success rate when just complying. Like, just don't force these guys into.
Right.
They're not well trained. I hate to say it.
No,
They're not
it's
well trained.
true.
They're not prepared for this. And so you're forcing them into a situation they're not prepared for, and they're human.
No, I agree with you. And I also think they're primed up. And I think that's a leadership thing.
Right. They are. Yeah,
And,
right.
and conversely, like I said it in my class, like the kids asked me the first day, it was right after that woman got shot in Wisconsin. I'm like, I think, I mean, my personal opinion is I think that she shouldn't have been shot. I said, but at the same time, what the fuck is she doing out running around, running into guys who are armed? And like her friends are, oh, she's really good at what she does. What the fuck is she doing? What is that? She put herself there.
Right.
Like she bears some responsibility. I don't think that guy should have done that, but I wasn't in his shoes, right? But I think when there's this language that we have now, and it's dehumanization,
Right.
that's where we're headed.
Right. And I'm not saying two wrongs make a right.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, we got to start with, what the beginning
The
what
guys
caused this.
with
But-
guns are they have the capability to kill you, and they're human. So like, maybe it's not right. But here's another part I would like to
that
add.
simple.
This might be my Yale stuff, but some people believe that the non-compliance is a demonstration of a peaceful way of saying, hey, fuck you. But whether or not that's true to you and I, it doesn't matter because there are people who feel that way.
Right.
What we don't have is the guy from ICE talking to the woman who's running the little gang that's fucking with him and say, hey, look,
Right.
can we talk about, because we've made this line. We are enemies. You hate us. We hate you. No, motherfucker, you're still going, when the sun goes down, it goes down over the United States of America.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, how do we get people to do that? You know?
But to come back around this, with veterans, right? Or or the military is the last bastion of hope and respect. The law enforcement's lost it for various reasons. Politicians have lost it.
Religion.
Athletes have lost it, to some degree. They're not always who you should be looking up to. But everyone still looks up for the military and said, hey, those are the guys.
In spite of.
and in spite of how fallible we are, we're still, but which is why it's even more important, even when it comes to Red Wings and that AER is, and a book, is that if the truth has to be told, because if we're not going to if the military won't tell the truth, not just like, and I'm not talking about our generals who are basically politicians.
Yeah.
If the guys on the ground or the guys that America trusts and respects still, if they won't tell the truth, if we don't protect that, we're going to lose that too.
Yeah, I think what happened with that was that the leadership, and I'm just going to talk about the SEAL team leadership, and I'm sure it's similar with the Army in different ways. Like I've gone to big things where I know who really shot Al Baghdad. I'm like, who the fuck are you? I don't, I know who really shot Bin Laden. Okay, good. Fucking awesome.
Right.
Can I have a fucking hot dog?
Right.
Sorry, I got lost there.
Oh, you're good. Hamster fell off the wheel. Happens to me sometimes too.
Where were we right before that?
Just the integrity of
so I think
of the ground.
Here's this is actually a really important thing for me, and I really want to say this especially to the people who are fans of the community and then get caught up in these kind of moral quagmires and think that they are some type of an authority on how people should conduct themselves. You and I can talk about that. I can say, like, I have talked horrible shit about Marcus Luttrell, and I've never fucking shaken that guy's hands. Mm-hmm. I've looked him in the eye before. He didn't know I was there. That was brutal. That whole thing was brutal. They tried to sell that mission to other units, and then I'm like, no, right? But put yourself, you're a young man who's been practicing to do this job for your entire adult life, and they say, hey, here you go. Oh, shit, you're going to be doing it without the proper leadership. Yeah. You're going to, you know what I'm saying? So I saw the body bags I carried. By the way, the fucking Rangers went down that ridge line in that ravine and got all those guys' bodies and carried them back up. And those were all SEALs. And they did it because they're like, hey, man, those are your buddies. And those motherfuckers ended up drinking their IVs. Those are some hard motherfuckers, man. And we got back up. We went and found the ambush site. Man, there were a lot of rounds. Those guys shot a lot of rounds at them. And they were fucked. It was a fucking fishbowl.
A lot of rounds on which side? On the enemy side? Or?
Yeah, a lot of AK.
Yeah.
A lot of 7.62 by 39. A lot.
Yeah.
at that point, we didn't find bodies. We ended up going back down. And by the time we got back on the patrol, the Rangers had gotten all the bodies up there and they were lined out in bags. There wasn't anything left of the helicopter crews except for bones, because of the flames. It was fucking brutal. Alan Mack, we had to blow down, I think the Rangers did it. Actually, they blew down some of these trees so they could get the 47 in there because we were like 11,000 feet. They get the 47 in there to get those guys' bodies out.
Yeah.
And motherfucker, I don't know how he got that helicopter down that fucking elevator shaft. But I stood there and there was the interpreter was on the headphones listening to the ICOMs that the Taliban use. Mm-hmm. And he told us after there was a guy screaming, "Shoot that helicopter down." And the guy would respond, "They'll know that I'm here and they'll kill me." And the guy screams, "Shoot that helicopter down or I will kill you." He didn't, thank God.
Right.
Set that thing down. We put the bodies on there. And I know who I was carrying too. Because he was a big motherfucker, Eric Christensen. Yeah. He was very good friends with my commanding officer. They grew up together, actually. And I remember also one of my buddies in my team, actually, his wife was having something with the pregnancy, and they put him on that same helicopter, flew him down out so he could go home. And he was never the same after that. Like, he was never the same. Right? Never. The next day, we roped in 2 days after. It was like 36 hours. We couldn't get in there because of the weather. We roped in, us and the Rangers, and walked about 3.5 kilometers along the ridgeline. We got there right as the sun came up. Then they went and got the bodies. We went and found the ambush site. But we really didn't know much. So we started a patrol, and the head shed decided to send us down into the town, and there were some ODA guys from 3rd Group walked up from fucking ABAD. Like fucking 7 of them. Like it was there. They're like, yeah. I'm like, God damn, fellas. They got shot at while they were coming up. Like it was. And then I watched them work. So I'd heard all this shit, right? And I went to language school actually at Fort Bragg with some guys that had just gotten out of, the selection part of it, and they were in their language portion, right? Okay. But anyway, I was a saw gunner at the time. So when the ODA guys got up there, they wanted to go down and they had this cool little fucking routine. It was like a little system that they had, right? Like, so anyway, I walked down to one of the head guys in the village with him, and the captain and the medic. They had this little system. Like the medic could see, who's sick, who needs, and he could do the bandages, and he'd hand out, aspirin, and he'd create a rapport actually really with them. And the captain and the interpreter would stand there and would talking to the head guy and who in the family is sick, and and then they'd start telling us shit. And they're like, yeah, they came down, and this is where they, like they talked about the whole thing. That was really cool to see. And the Marines walked up a couple days later. They pulled us out after about 6 days. But there was when we got word that they were sending in the helicopters, that there was a survivor. I was standing, the Rangers were on one side of the mountain, and of course, those fucking guys can run. They're pretty good in rucksacks.
Right, yeah.
They beat us to the site, and we stopped and just kind of held ground, and I was standing next to the CCT guy when the 60s came in to get him, and I looked at him and I said, that guy's going to write a book and make $1 million. I didn't know they were going to do a movie and make a couple $100, whatever, but...
you called it.
But right after that, we got pulled out a couple days after that. The Marines and some other folks, other SEAL team guys were finding some of the bodies up there. But while we were up there patrolling, we saw the kid with the gun belt. We saw the goat herder. They turned white when they saw us. They'd obviously met some people before. We didn't know that at the time. We weren't very far from the border. You're not flying a fucking Who concert the size of a school bus, 3 of them up that valley and sneaking into anywhere.
I know.
Like there were all these things, right? And then because of the tragedy, and this is where I'm going to go back to the stuff I want to say, and I need to say this in public because I was angry about that whole thing, and he was the one part of it that was alive. Mm-hmm. I talked to a very close friend of mine who is a very senior leader who knew Marcus really well, and he said, "Look, Jimmy, he just wanted those guys to be remembered as heroes." And I'm like, I got it. I couldn't really get past it because of the way then I get my shit. I get shot up. And I was being aggressive the night I got wounded, very aggressive. And because of that, I had exposed myself, got the dog killed. These are things in my head. My buddies had to be exposed. The guys had to come back and get me. So now I'm living with similar things that I had condemned him for.
Yeah.
He was too aggressive. He was a fucking young guy in the SEAL teams that wanted to kick somebody's ass, right? That's why we need strong leaders, right? Yeah. So then what happened is we'd go on another deployment. My next deployment was to Iraq, and we'd get these augments, these guys from the teams that had worked, that were from SEAL Team 10 or from, and they'd heard all these things, and they didn't know any of us were actually there. So they'd sit down and they'd start telling us the story. And by the time I had heard that story for the second time about, like, it got turned into something that was beyond ridiculous. I got so fucking angry, and the only place for that to go was to him, because he's the only guy alive through it all. The night I got wounded, and we haven't got there yet, but the night I got wounded, I told everyone that we were on a rescue mission for Bowe Bergdahl. Mm-hmm. And in my mind we were, especially after I got hurt. And I couldn't figure out what the disconnect was when I did the court martial, because the judge, the colonel, looked
the court martial for
Bergdahl.
Correct. Okay. Making sure.
For Bergdahl, he said, "Why did you go?" And I said, "Because he's got a mom." He goes, No, but why did you go out on the mission? And it didn't make sense to me. I didn't make the connection. But here's the important part. I had to create a story I could live with.
No.
I didn't do that I didn't sit down like, I need to make this, It wasn't a sinister attempt on my part. I was like, here's what happened. We canceled the mission. This group of hardcore, like, ambush crew dudes in that particular part of the country popped up on the radar. And when they did, they were talking about the things they were doing to an American that had been captured. So in my mind, as I was a team leader, I'm like, we don't have a choice. Like, we'd canceled the mission because the Illume was too good, all the reasons. But I mean, at this point, we got to go. He's got a mom, right? Like, we got to go. And not only that, I argued to go right to the why.
Okay.
And there were people that came to see me in the hospital later, very senior people that talked about what a fucking stupid decision. I'm like, I was the one who came up, right? Like, but you know how it is, right?
I do. All too familiar with it. Actually.
Yeah. So I didn't lie in the sense that I was trying to make what I was doing more valuable because we were trying to rescue an American hostage. In my mind, that's why I had to say that's why I did those things, that I'd made those risks. And I put myself, and this may be a tactical error on my part, and I haven't actually really thought about it at great length. But the difference between combat clearance and hostage rescue. They're very, very different. And in my mind, it was a hostage rescue mission. And I really hung it out.
Right.
So maybe that was an error. And maybe I needed to cover that up too by filling that space in my heart that was fucking full of the dark bullshit that comes with rolling the dice and being a member of the Consequence Cowboys, right? I had to figure out a way to get through it. And so the evil, the darkness that I could focus all that on was him. And whether I meet him again or not, I cannot imagine, after going through what I did, the decisions I made, seeing the dog get killed, getting shot, watching my buddies fucking, the grenades going on, all that shit. I can't be mad at that dude. I want everything to be right and true and honest. I just can't be mad at that shit, man. I can't imagine watching my friends get killed and run down a fucking mountain.
Yeah. That is.
And you know what? The motherfucker shows up, and he shows up and does talks, and he raises money, and he gives a shit ton of it to veterans groups. And for that, I'm grateful. And I'm sorry that I was disrespectful to him.
I've, when it comes to the Marcus Luttrell thing, I always said that I wouldn't cover that like the way I've covered Rob or Tim Kennedy, because I said, because other people died and it wasn't something, that I wanted to do. Of course, and there were some people who said, well, That's not true. You did it. We had another Navy SEAL, on the show who talked about it. And so it wasn't, I don't edit things out. If people want to talk about it, like, who am I to, to edit your free speech? I mean, it's my show. If you say something I don't really agree with, of course I will. But that was his story to tell about what he saw at the time when he was there and what he knows to be the reality of that. And I let him talk about that. So it is a little unfair when people clump my name into exposing Marcus Luttrell because I did not do an episode on it in the way that I personally have with others. And I've always said this. Hey, I may not agree with the story he told, and you can say why he did it. Yeah, I don't agree with it, but I've never taken for granted what he went through.
Dude, can you imagine carrying that bag, buddy?
Yeah, and what he has to live with
every
day. That's never been lost on me. Now, it doesn't justify it.
No, I feel you.
But for people to throw that around and say, and just throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, I can't do that.
Listen, I think I was more hardcore on it than anybody.
Yeah.
And someone who comes from our background, but you fucking armchair quarterback motherfuckers that want to sit and talk about ethics and morals and what you do and what you should have done, just shut the fuck up. Until you do the dance with the consequences and put yourself in that position, you are a good human being who's interested in what's going on in this culture. And and I think what we have to offer the country right now is actually a very important thing. But you're not going to do anything by trying to prop yourself up by talking shit about a guy who went through what I can't imagine, but must have been the most incredibly horrible fucking few days of anybody's fucking life, and how we react to those things, especially if we're a young man and we're surrounded by very senior leaders.
Yeah. You mentioned it earlier about, there was no AAR.
There was none.
And that upsets me. And for the same reason.
TF-160 did one.
Of course, those professionals
fucking
did.
A, they did. And they call us the customer. Yeah. I love those guys, by the way.
They're my favorite.
Yeah.
They're my favorite.
I got a book club going on Thursday night. In fact, we should do it for the live.
Okay.
And one of the crew chief on the helicopter that medevac me is in that fucking thing.
Really?
Yeah. It makes my fucking heart swell up. He's reading the Aeneid with me right now.
I love that. You said that you got to speak and meet the guys who medevaced you. And let's go over that.
Okay.
Just if you don't mind.
No, I don't.
Hey, let's talk about your worst night in combat.
Yeah, no.
It's
good. No,
maybe not your worst, but personally, when it comes to consequences physically, it was your worst. It was, you already mentioned it. It was the Bowe Bergdahl mission that you believed he was there.
I did in my heart. I thought he was, because the way they were talking about him, they had clearly had some what you might call intimate contact.
Okay. So you guys roll out. Just lay out the story for me.
So we were going to go out and do something that we'd had on the books for a bit, and the weather was just shitty. And so, in a bad way, like meaning the weather was good.
Right, good for us.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of shut down, and then the boss came in and said, "Hey, man, we just got this," and he handed it to me, and it was a conversation with these guys, and I was like, "Holy shit, man, we gotta." So they started ginning up the intel. We did it in like 30 minutes, man. We did a turnaround and quick. Got the TF guys, you know how they are.
Right.
We had a little discussion about going to the Y or going, doing the walk a distance. But I was like of the mind that, again, I'm in my head, it's a hostage rescue mission.
Right.
They're going to hear the helicopters.
And real quick, not to interrupt you, but just so people understand, to the X is taking it right to the door. To the Y is generally outside of small arms range, 500. Yeah. 400, 500 meters.
Yep.
And then, a walk-in can be 10 clicks if need be. So that's what he's talking about when saying heading to the Y.
So I won the argument about going to the Y. I think there were other people on my side, obviously.
And why not the X? Was it too far in the middle where you couldn't
The X
land on
we
the
would have been, the people we were going after, what we knew they had would have been a little bit aggressive.
Right. Would you have had to fast rope in because or do you think
No, it was
you
pretty
could have
flat.
landed?
It was pretty flat. We could have landed.
Okay.
We actually did land 400 meters away.
Right, but to the X.
What turned out,
risk,
though-
the risk to force
Yes.
and the helicopters was just too great.
And I'm sure this never happened on any of your deployments, but we thought the Y was the Y, but the enemy thought it was the X. So as we're coming in, we're on the helicopter that was on the opposite side of the one that was closest
Right.
to, and all of a sudden I can see the gunner's like, whoa. So I know, okay, here, shit's real. We got the birds landed and we were getting ready to haul ass off the back, and the troop chief's like, no, hold, man. And then I saw the tracers going by, and I'm like, oh, shit. So
It's funny you mentioned that because you're right. It's the Y is where we think it is. It's based off the building.
Yes.
Because we only know where the building is.
Yeah, we're
We
picking
don't-
a building.
We don't know where the people are.
Exactly.
But sometimes if the people are on the Y, it might as well be the X.
The X. And it turns out when you fly a bus into a place that sounds like a Who concert, guess
Right.
what? They're ready for you. So,
Right.
Anyway, our guys that got out of the other helo, they ended up using grenades. It was funny too because they're like, "That's a hostage rescue mission. You shouldn't be using grenades." Wait a minute. Long story, less long. They killed a bunch of dudes. We ended up killing like 20 some odd dudes that night.
Oh man, that's a good night work.
Yeah, but they got me and the dog. I got injured and the dog. Anyway,
Price.
so
Yeah.
we come out the back. Finally, the bullets subside because our buddies killed everybody in the building that was shooting, and we started moving, and it was insane. There were people running out of these little houses. It was like 1 a.m, and it was bright. I mean, it was full moon. There were kids and women, and it was like it was chaos. It was like a rodeo.
Yeah.
And people were shooting, and it was crazy. So I kind of take a second, and I'm looking around, and I can see which way guys are moving and where we're going, and so I get to a certain spot, and I'm like, hey man, we need to split the team at this point because there's a lot of things going on. Sent the other team, there's the other infamous SEAL that I was on that team, the guy who should have been the team leader. I sent him and his crew, and then I took myself, one other shooter, the dog guy, and his dog, and I wanted to be with them because it was their first like real good gunfight, and the dog handler is a guy named Mike Toussaint. He's a public person. I call him the Texan stud. We start moving, and I can see some dark in the ditch. I can see these dark shadows. And we've had guys clacking off vests and shit like that. So I'm like, hey, man, we send the dog over there. And he sends the dog over, and it turns out that it's kids. And 2 little ones, like a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. And then like a 12, 13-year-old girl. So they're holding security. I grab the 2 little kids, and I take them out in the field, making hold hands, little boy and little girl. And fuck, man, I can't imagine what that night must have been like for those kids, man. You know? So I take them out in the field in the middle, and I tell them, sit down. I go back to get the girl. The dog had hit the girl. She was the biggest one.
Oh, he'd latched on.
Yeah. So he got off quick, right?
Okay.
I go to get her, and I'm like trying to get her to stand up, and she is in the fetal position. I mean, her night wasn't exactly great. All of a sudden, there's helicopters and bombs going off and people screaming, and then she runs to hide in the ditch, and a dog bites her.
Right.
And then some gringo with fucking green eyes comes over and wants to help her. She's like,
Right.
So she's...
There's no way she can comprehend what's
so I
going on.
throw over my shoulder. I go out in the field, and I'm telling you this story because on the previous deployment, I had made a decision that got 3 kids killed. And here's these 3 kids. I put them in the field, and I throw down some IR chem lights, and I call the gunship. I'm like, hey, man, these are kids, right? Because it was dynamic. Like, we were fucking moving. And you know that the Taliban don't give a fuck about shooting their own people. They don't care, right? So,
well, you just described, I was thinking about what a difference between us and them. You're not looking to save American kids. You'll hang it out there to save their kids, too.
that's why I wrote that book. My first deployment to Iraq, I watched one of the team leaders, who was a left-handed shooter, go in a building. I was a dog guy. So I was standing outside initially. That's how we did things. I was outside actually kneeling down, watching him do the entry. I hear boom, boom, boom. I see my buddy, the team leader, who's a left-handed shooter, drop his right hand, and he's down the hall, and he's getting shot at. And he reaches down with his right hand, and he starts grabbing these little kids. The people that were trying to kill him sent their own kids. Did you ever go through a tactical training where they threw little kids in the hall that you had to grab to fucking put behind you? Like, that's American. You either have that in you or you don't, right? That's why I decided to write the book. Most people don't know that. At any rate, as soon as I called the gunship and told them that, they used the fucking IR, and I could see there were some dudes heavy rolling, a few of them, a couple of them, and then they shut off the IR, and I got us lined up into the wind because I was a dog guy before, and I knew.
Okay.
I can't remember my fucking birthday sometimes, but I can remember where the wind was coming that night, and the way we landed was south to north, and the wind was out of the east. And lined the dog up. I looked at the two dudes that I was with, and I'm like, "You guys ready?" And they looked at me like, "What?" Let's go. And I'd done this before. It worked in the past. The dog buys you a fucking half a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but you got to be there. You got to be there with them, you know? And we started out, I would just, at that point, I put the little MP7 up and I started watching the dog. And I knew that the dog would tell me when we were close. The other guys, you know, the handler was right next to me. The other shooter got himself out on a little bit of an L, really good shooter. We start moving towards the last place I could see where those guys were, and they dropped down. Turns out it was a ditch that they dropped down in, and I didn't see it. But as we got close, I could see the dog do what the dogs do when they know that it's time to get it on. And I was like, yeah, here we go. And as soon as he started up the side of the ditch, boom, boom, the guy in front of me, I mean, and I was 15 feet from the dude. I saw the dog get blown back. I saw from the muzzle flash that he was clearly not an American. So I start filling him in, and, I was using the MP7. And I was like, he's not going down. I mean, he wasn't doing anything, but I was shooting him really close in the fucking face.
Yeah.
And he was like,
yeah.
I was like, that's disturbing. So I just remember that for a second. Then I took a step towards him, and when I put my leg down, I was yelling, hey, get the dog back. And his buddy was in the ditch next to him. And I don't know exactly what happened because you never hear the rounds that get you, right? All I know is that my leg went away. The other guys that were with me said that he emptied his magazine. Okay. And then the pictures I saw after that, he clearly had done that. He also had fucking chucked some grenades. So one guy thought, who was not close, he's one of the guys that covered ground to save me. He said he thought that the guy blew himself up and that's what had injured me. But there were 2 exit wounds. I just go ahead and say it was an AK-47 round because, God damn it, it hurt. And I'll tell you what, man, I remember there was a guy named...
Did you have ISR video of it by chance? Was ISR
I'm sure there was, but
okay.
I've never shown me.
Okay.
And then when I became a public person, like nobody's going to, I don't just send him anything. He'll put it on the news or whatever,
right,
which,
yeah.
I mean, that's good reason. No, I think... At the point that I went down, my life changed immediately, right then and there. I became a witness to the American spirit. And I, regardless of the decisions I made to get there, and after all of my mental health stuff, I got to a place where I could be at peace with it because it had worked for me in the past. I was a pretty experienced guy. And at the end of the day, when you're dancing with consequences, the roll of the dice, everybody in a gunfight gets a vote.
That's right.
And that's just one of the bets that I made that didn't work out for me, And I got that dog killed. And that was the most brutal part for me because the dogs are not volunteers.
No, they're not.
And I grew up, I didn't have a choice. None of us really do. But I was born and brought up into different families, and I saw the way the dogs were. It was similar to me. And I was similar to the dogs in that I had a pure drive to do certain things, right? And when you run through the woods chasing motherfuckers down with a dog and you're looking at each other and you're running and you're breathing and it's like a rhythm and you're a team, there's some primal biological hunt man shit in there that is like the dog's giving you a little of his juice and you're giving him some. And that hunt together, that teamwork between 2 beasts is such a gift. But they have to rely on us. The life they live is the one we give them.
Right. Do you think the dogs know? Do you think this is a game to them?
Yeah.
Do you think at some point?
Well, I think some of the dogs really like to hurt people, but I don't believe that they could get hurt doing it. If they thought that if they knew what a bullet was, they'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, we train them. Look, we manipulate the fuck out of those dogs. We use the one thing, the most powerful thing they have is their loyalty.
Yeah.
And we manipulate it. That's why Spike's canine fun is important.
Yeah.
We got to do every fucking thing we can for those dogs. Because guess what? I got teammates. I'm sure you do. I'm home because of them. I got teammates that are home. I know cops that are home because of their dogs. So
this is again unpopular, but it's true.
I'm here for it.
It's true. But at the same time, I give a lot of respect and reverence to those dogs. They're still God's creation, and they're the best. They're called man's best friend for a reason. But they don't have families. They don't have sons and daughters. They don't have a wife waiting for them to come home. And I will absolutely use those dogs before I put an American man in that same situation.
Leave kids without a dad.
I'll do it responsible, but
leave a kid without their dad. I got you.
Yeah.
And this goes into the problems I have in that vein with we should. I can't win the argument of why you shouldn't let a dog go out and do that and you let a guy go home to his family, right?
Yeah.
But what I can argue is because of that, why isn't that dog in shape? Why aren't you in shape? Why aren't you doing everything you can do to make sure that motherfucker survives? Because his survival is based completely on your inputs.
Yep.
You give him all the inputs so he'll go do that violent shit.
Right. And dogs at that level are not easily replaceable.
No.
And they're so important, which is why it's so, there's, again, several factors out of respect to the dog, out of respect to your teammates,
to yourself,
out of respect to yourself, respect to resources.
Yeah.
We can't just.
It is a soul. It is created by God. It is a soul, and that counts. And
it's a tough
especially
one.
when it's completely in your care.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I think the problem that we can't separate as high performing individuals is this. It's necessary. You will be your own worst critic. You don't need anyone to tell you what you could have done better that night. No one, in fact,
at our level, yes. At other levels, I don't know.
But no one's and no one knows exactly what you were thinking, why you were thinking it. You know that, and you will analyze it, and especially after you're shot and hurt, because I dealt with it too. And you will just crush yourself.
I'm a piece of shit.
And you'll think you let down everyone. No one else was thinking that.
Yeah.
No one's. It's the dark place that you put yourself into, because we do self-critique ourselves heavily to make sure that we're performing at a high level.
Yeah. It's
the best part about you, and when something goes wrong, it's the worst part about you.
Yeah, it's the worst fight of your life because you're fighting yourself, and you're a tough motherfucker, man. And it's cool when you're fucking kicking somebody else's ass, but when you're kicking your own ass, right? And then you end up in the mental hospitals.
Something else you mentioned that I don't know if I've really thought about until you mentioned it, about just the chaos of a gunfight. And there's two aspects of that. I've been in gunfights where, because of our level of training and because of the amazing people to your left and right, highly choreographed, in control the whole time. I knew where everyone was. Just like clockwork. That's how it's done. We're the best. We go home. And then there's other times you don't know where they are. You don't know where your teammates are.
Yeah.
You don't know where you are. You don't know where they landed you. Like
that Talking Heads song. How did I get here? This is not my beautiful house.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. And and they have the home field advantage. And
every time.
Somehow we still come out on top, sometimes at a loss. And I'm enamored by the vast difference of what gunfights can be.
I believe that your organization, my organization, I've not worked around a lot of the high-end federal guys in shooting scenarios often, but they're fucking solid too. The HRT guys that I've worked with were it isn't... Actually, let me say it this way. I talked about a night when I made a decision that got civilians killed in my class on courage. And because I thought it would demonstrate courage on my part, and it would also give them an insight into what's real about warriors, that they've never met people like us, right? And that is that, yeah, we're fucking brawlers and we don't want to kill the fuckers that want to hurt our people, but we're also humans who have to deal with the consequences, right? When you deal with the consequences, the people who deal with consequences for real are not the ones out there talking about Marcus Luttrell being a piece of shit or Jimmy Hatch being a public guy who shouldn't say certain things. They're getting after it, and they're learning their mistakes. They're after actioning those things, and then they're getting back to work. They're not spending time. I wasted a lot of time. And the guy who's responsible for me being at Yale is an economics professor of note. In fact, he's like the expert on healthcare.
Okay.
Right. And he's got some really interesting shit. Man, you should have him on.
Okay.
He'd fire some people up, and he's
for sure.
He's a real Yale professor. Like
right.
he's.
So I don't need tier one operators. I'm looking for people that are tier one people, tier one in their profession. So,
I got a whole list of those.
No, I'll take them.
Anyway, I completely lost.
Well, you said that he's the reason that he brought you on to Yale, which I'm interested in. That was gonna be my next line of questioning anyway.
Okay.
So it flows right in.
Oh man, I got lost. Sorry, buddy.
We'll edit it out.
So I'm doing the Spike Skinner after I got injured and went through all of the mental health stuff. It was hard. I should probably talk about how the cops got involved in my life.
Sure.
Or we want to do that in live.
Send it now.
So
we can do it at both.
Okay. So I came back, medevac, got to the hospital, or got to DC, and my wife met me there and some guys from my crew, because I have kids, but they were quite young, and my wife and I had been divorced, and she'd been remarried. They're on the West Coast, and we weren't close. In fact, not long after I got wounded, probably a few weeks after, I sent them all a message and said, "Hey, I'm a worthless piece of shit, and you don't want me to be a part of your life, so just forget about me." That's how I felt, right?
Right.
So it was me and her, and she doesn't have a lot of family, right? So it was my unit was my family, really, and fuck, man. Guys just kept showing up. You know how the deal. You know how it is, right? My CEO sent his wife up. He's still overseas. Sent her up to get my wife out of my room and go out and have a few drinks and fucking get out, I was a fucking witness to the American spirit. When I got shot and those guys covered open ground, I was screaming. I couldn't stop screaming. I remember thinking, stop screaming. I was refilling my lungs. And I remember this guy, Carlos Melita, who got shot in Panama.
Okay.
And I was like, "Carlos, what did it feel like?" He goes, "Man, I felt like it was on fire, right where the bullet was." And I'm like, I remember thinking that, like, yeah, he's right. It feels like it's on fire.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was thinking was, I shot a lot of fuckers with 5.56, and then that 4.6 by 30, the MP7 round.
Yeah.
And nobody went down the way I went down when I got shot in the leg, but it blew my femur out. Right? Like it was a pretty. I mean, it hit the femur. Guys saved me. I'm listening to them as they're going to work. "Jimmy, you got to be quiet." I'm like, "I can't." They're like, "We got to roll you over, dude." I'm like, "No," because every time I move, my leg would twist, Yeah. And they flipped me, but when they did, one of them fucking smashed his knees into my back and pushed all the air out of my lungs, so I couldn't. The helicopter came back in, and I want to do that before I forget, because of the brain damage. I don't know, it's probably 15 years later, I was out doing something with Spike's Canine Fund in Tacoma. And I talked to some of my friends out there, and they said, "Hey man, we're having our family formal. Would you come talk?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, I would come talk." Because those guys are like us, right? Like,
right.
Their families are there, but their families don't know shit.
Right.
They don't say shit.
You never come home and tell your family what you've been through.
And I'm a fucking shooter. They talk about the shooters, and that's why they go to work, right? Their families know they go to take fucking idiots like us to go roll the dice, right? So I took that as this opportunity to, it was gold. And I stood up and I said, look, man, imagine the worst night of your life. You're laying across the world, like on the other side of the world in a fucking poppy field, bleeding to death. The only way you're getting out of there is if those motherfuckers that dropped you off in that shit show come back and get you. And guess what? Not for a fucking second did I doubt that those, can you imagine that kind of feeling? Like, yeah, I'm dancing with the consequences, but I know they've got some shit piled up in case things go sideways, right? Like, I can't tell you how powerful that is. And I'm talking to the families, need to know that your family member does that every night. Like, that's just regular shit for them. Like, for me, it was a big deal. Oh, yeah, another bloody guy on the fucking helicopter. In fact, the guy who's in my book club, when I met him, he came to a skydiving event for Spikes up in Wisconsin. I'm like, hey, man, I recognize you. I'm like, were we in jail together or something? He goes, no, last time I saw you, you were bleeding all over the floor of my helicopter.
Oh.
Dude. Yeah.
How cool is that to get to see that guy?
But that's like, I got to see one of the team leaders throw kids behind him in a gunfight. I got to see all these things are stories to help us love our country, I think.
Right. It is uniquely American.
It is. It is. I fucking bought I actually had a friend, a guy who helped him publish a Taliban poetry book. And guess what? You know what it sounds like? Shit we would write.
Right.
These people don't think we're humans.
Right.
I read that shit in the class.
Yeah.
Not because I like those fuckers. They killed my fucking friends and they fucking tried to kill me and kill my dogs, you know? But guess what? Had I been born there?
That's right. I mean, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
I had a kid in one of my classes who looked like a lot of dudes we killed. And he's from that part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell. The only reason I knew he was halfway okay is because he would walk in with a kid with a yarmulke on. I'm like, all right, they're good. Okay. So, but he came to me. He's like, hey, man, we need to talk. Yeah, I could see he was angry, you know? And I'm like, yeah, man, let's have office hours. So we went after class, went and talked. And he goes, look, man, I need you to know, I don't see you the way these kids see you. I'm like, you don't see me as a war hero. You see me as a war criminal.
Right.
And he goes, exactly. And I'm like, if I grew up where you did, I'd feel the same fucking way. And I said, and this is something we need to talk about in class. And you know what he said? I'm going to change the details of this a little bit so he can't be tracked down.
Okay.
Because he still has family. He said, look, man, I have a sister that's at another college in this country. Mm-hmm. And I know how lucky we are. And if I go in class and say anything negative about the United States because of where I'm from, somebody can use that against me and it'll ruin my opportunities. It will hurt my sister. And that broke my fucking heart. And so I said in class, to my class, I was like, look, we have people in this class who come from places where free speech isn't a thing.
Yeah.
I'm an American. I believe in free speech. And I want your guarantee that people can say what the fuck they want in this classroom and not have to worry about it. And that was never a problem. And we did. We talked about it.
Which is funny because the word free speech, we do have free speech, but culturally, no one has free speech. And what I mean, like we have protection of it legally,
right?
But that doesn't mean there won't be social ramifications of things you say.
Consequences.
Now, consequences,
yeah.
Whether that's deserved or undeserved. And for that kid to recognize that and say, yeah, I have free speech legally, but socially and consequences of that I can legally say this, there are still consequences for free speech. I think that was very insightful for that guy to
it was also insightful for the kids to see that.
And he's talking to someone that's above him in power, right. And so it's one thing to say that to another student, but to be in that presence and have that mindset. What a great kid.
He's a Yale student, and he's
a Yale student, right?
I'm telling you, man, it's Harvard students are the same, right? Like one of my troop commanders did stuff at Princeton, so I've been there too. They're the same, right? You'd be shocked at how similar it feels. I mean, there's people use hygiene and stuff. Not so much in the SEAL teams, but the kids at school are,
How did you get to Yale? What
so,
was that process like? Because that is a long process from SEAL Team 6 to Yale.
Especially for a guy who dropped out of high school and joined the service the day he turned 17, right? So, and I'd never taken an SAT.
Right. Okay.
My grade point average was in it was in the mid ones when I left school and took a GED so I could get a diploma. Mm-hmm. There was a SEAL guy I worked with who was in one of the other squadrons, troop commander, super sharp guy that I have a lot of respect for. He messaged me, say, hey man, I was at a leadership conference, and there's this guy who's a Yale professor who wants to go skydive. Would you go with him? That was kind of my thing in the teams. I like jumping a lot. So, and I had cameras and I took pictures and I really enjoyed it. I was like, fuck yeah, give me an excuse, right? So I'm thinking some crunchy old fucker's going to show up at the drop zone and be decrepit. No, this dude shows up. He's a young guy. He's in great shape. He looks like Bradley Cooper, the actor. Like this guy's name is Zach Cooper. He went to one of those high schools where you're going to be an Olympic athlete, so you got to travel, and he was a downhill skier. Okay. We go first skydive, and we get connected. He gets my number, and he's like, hey man, would you be interested in coming up to Yale? And I was like, what? Sure. I didn't even know where Yale was. And he set it up. And I didn't realize that he was trying to recruit me initially. I didn't realize it. But let me back up. Right after Lone Survivor, I had bought one book to take with me on that deployment, and it was called Genius, and it was by a professor named Harold Bloom. And I wrote him a message from Afghanistan. And I said, this book, I'm an American troop, and we just had a lot of death. And I came back to my little fucking hovel and grabbed this book, and it's like this perfect medicine for what I need right now. Mm-hmm. And I was emotional, and I sent it to him, and he wrote back one word, survive. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he was a Yale professor. I'm like, what the fuck, arrogant fucker. I didn't realize that smart people think if you can say what you need to say in the fewest words possible, you're doing the right thing, right? So anyway, I wrote it off. So back at Yale, he asked me if I come. I went out, we did some tours, walked around. I was blown away. The place was fucking, it's like, I've never seen the movie, but Hogwarts. Okay. Say that shit. You seriously need to come up. And
I will.
Dude, I was shocked. And we went to dinner with the guy for whom I now work, who's the head of the Jackson School of Global Affairs. His name's Jim Levinson, and he's a visionary dude. He's really good friends with this guy we know. His name's Stan McChrystal.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. They're really close. And he said, we were at dinner, and he's like, hey, Jimmy, you ought to look into this thing here at Yale. It's called the Eli Whitney Student Program. It's for non-traditional students. Now, he claims I told him to fuck off, which I'm entirely capable of doing, but I remember laughing at it.
Right. Okay.
And saying, look, man, I've never taken an SAT.
Yeah.
I had like a 1.2 grade point average. And he goes, well, it's not really about that. It's about the life you've lived.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't get it. It didn't make sense to me. Like where we come from, you got to have certain quals. You got to go through the things. You got to blah, blah, blah. So I blew him off. I was like, yeah, whatever. I went back to Virginia Beach, and I'd been out for 10 years. So Zach, Professor Cooper, in fact, I was skydiving with him this morning at DeLand. And it's funny because we met skydiving. It's kind of a thing. He got his license and everything. He sent me the link, and he's like, hey, here's the link to the school and the application. And I was like, oh, whatever, laughed. Blew it off. And then, one night I said, fuck it, man. What's the worst that can happen? So I filled out the application, and I didn't know about how this shit works. So I fucking text Zach. I'm like, hey, Zach, I just want you to know I just sent in the application. He goes, what? He goes, you did the whole application? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, how long did it take you? I said, well, it was about 45 minutes. He goes, wait a minute. Did you write the essays? I'm like, yeah. He goes, both of them? I'm like, yeah. He goes, Jimmy, how long did it take you to write the essays? I'm like, about 15 minutes. He's like, Jimmy, you need to understand that people spend thousands of dollars on their kids' essays to get into Yale. And I'm like, well, it didn't seem that fucking hard to me. Pretty easy question.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, Jimmy, do me a favor. Email the person in admissions and ask him if you can resubmit those essays. I actually work for her now. Part-time, I work part-time in admissions. for the non-traditional student stuff.
Okay. Do you remember what the questions were that they wanted you to ask?
I don't.
Okay.
But I can find out. In fact, there's a kid, I want to say he's from 1st Battalion, Ranger Battalion, who just is starting this year.
Nice.
So I finished the email, I sent it. She's like, no, you can't, but you could submit 2 more if you like. So I took the ones that I had written and I sent them to Zach, and he helped me with this thing called punctuation and grammar.
Right.
And then I sent him, I resubmitted them.
Okay.
And then you don't hear anything, right? I didn't hear shit. Then I got an email that said, hey, you have an interview with 2 people on this day. And the first one was a person who is actually a non-traditional student like me. And they have a series of questions, and they want to see, is this person going to be able to come here and be humble enough to get through this and blah, blah, blah. And then the second one is with an actual admissions person. Well, guess what I had fucking scheduled for that day, because I was like, fuck it, was the colonoscopy. So I had drank the fucking bucket of venom.
Right.
Right. So I'm sitting at the table with my computer I've got my little fucking time, I'm looking all sharp and shit. I couldn't get through. Like, the first interview I got through without like any major issues, but the second one, I'm like, I stand up and I'm like, can I go to the bathroom? She's like, sure.
Right.
Like, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So I got through it. And then about a month later, I think, or so, I got this email. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and my wife's sitting there, and, hey, you've been admitted. And I'm like, honey, they just admitted me. And she's like, I quote, you're a fucking idiot if you don't take that opportunity.
Yeah.
Which is a very big deal to her. We haven't really talked about this, but the way our families are neglected while we're out doing the action man bullshit.
Yep.
Like, I was gone 270 days a year. I mean, she was at home watching the news. Oh, a whole helicopter full of SEALs got shot down. Where's my husband? Oh, he happens to be, you know what I mean? Right. So for her to say that, hey man, I'm going to have to move to Connecticut. We've been separated. We've been a lot, most of our marriage. She's got her career, right? Selfless. I'm like, fuck it, Yale. I showed up, man. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me. It changed the lens through which I view the world. And it's exposed me to the same drives and passions and fortitude that I saw in special operations in fucking 18-year-old kids that don't have any clue about the military.
I love to hear that.
It is inspiring every fucking day. And look, man, there's people there that believe at 3 years old you can have gender dysphoria. I don't believe that. Yeah. But guess what? This is America. There's 25,000 people on the campus at Yale. Some people believe some shit I disagree with. And guess what? We can sit in the room and talk about it.
That's right.
And I think that's what's important. I also think that if you can push yourself in situations like we did, physically, mentally, emotionally, why would you not continue to do that in other ways? So that's what I started to get as I started going through it, reading these different things, being exposed to the different subjects, forced to take classes I didn't want to take, biology. Right? But Yale's smart. Like, this is how they do it. They have an instructor that lectures like 2 or 3 times. The first instructor was a guy who's created a peptide that kills tumors. That's kind of important. Yeah. The second one was the woman who's top in the world at addiction. And how that works. Like, it's called Biology, the World, and Us, and it's for people who aren't science people. Yale understands that there's people that are going to be great in finance, but there's a requirement to take biology. Let's do something that's useful. Yeah. Right? And then Carl Zimmer was another guy they brought in the biology class. He's like, this is how data was manipulated during COVID. He writes for the New York Times. Charts, had podcasts up where people talking, saying bullshit. He's like, see this, and like the whole thing, like the data. They call it the academic treatment. And when the academic treatment is the way we do AARs, and that's what, like the lacrosse team, they need to do AARs. They need to go back and look with a fine-tooth comb at the mistakes and the good things, right? Like, you remember coming back and like, this is going to be a tough one. Yeah. That's something that we as Americans don't do, I think, enough of. The AAR, like we talked about it with the lone survivor stuff, right? Yeah. I don't think we look back at like the Afghanistan I went on Anderson Cooper's show and said, hey, man, we need to do an after action like we do in the military.
That got swept under the rug because no one wanted to hear
No
the
one
bad
wanted to
stuff
talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it.
No
And
one
I can
wanted to
tell
take
you,
responsibility for it.
it's getting ready. Like, I think that committee
Right.
is getting ready to come out with some announcements, and I'll be willing to bet they're going to go after some of the military people, and that's going to piss me off.
Because if you looked into it, unbiased, and really tried to find the root cause, then there would be consequences. There's no consequences if you don't look into it.
Exactly. Right.
Well, that's not true. There's no personal consequences. There are dire consequences later on down the road, not capturing these lessons learned.
We talked to over a dozen senior officials, more than a dozen for that class. It was a year-long class. Mm-hmm. 2 special operations people out of at least 15 speakers. Mm-hmm. The only people who said that they had made an error were the special operations people.
Wow.
Not one diplomat, not one conventional said that they made errors. Not fucking one.
Wow.
I invited President Obama, President Biden, President Bush. I invited all of them. And there's people at Yale that know them. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
None of them would show
right.
up, But guess what? I had to show up when I fucking shot my dog, and I had to go through the after action, right? I had to talk about the consequences. Why don't leaders have to do that? You go out on the target tonight and fucking smoke some lady just because you're pissed off, you're going to jail.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you should.
And sending people to drop fucking JDAMs on where the consequences, right? Like,
right.
This is also another big discussion. As the technology becomes more and more integrated into conflict, at what point does it become unhuman? And is that okay? A guy like Tolstoy would say war should be horrible.
Yeah.
When it becomes easy.
That's right.
Right.
Man, isn't that the truth? Think about that for a second. But I love the saying, which I don't know which weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
I mean, sounds like a fucking legit plan to me,
Yeah.
Yeah. We just hosted at the Jackson School. We just hosted 15 Ukrainian veterans. There's a person of means who's Ukrainian who wants the next. This is his quote: "I want the next leaders of Ukraine to be veterans." So he wrote a check for these people to come to Yale, and we put together a course.
Good.
And listen to them talk about the technology and what's going on and the way. You're right. You're right. You're right.
How did you start the spikes, the Canine Spikes Fund?
So in 2000,
how'd that come about?
In 2005, or actually in the 90s, I wrote a point paper to the leadership on bringing dogs in to help us with one of our legacy clearance problems, because they're large clearance problems. And
very large.
Yeah. And a place where a canine might be effective because they can move quickly and, their ability to discern with their nose, blah, 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 blah. So I wrote that and they're like, hey, this is a great paper. And they put it somewhere in a file. I left, went to the jump team, came back. Anyway, when I got back, they said, hey, would you be interested in being a handler? You're not going to be the number one man, but, we need a shooter to be. And I was like, I would fucking jump at it. So they
post TL time or
no,
after the injury.
This was right after lone survivor stuff.
Okay.
So when I got injured, I was done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was like, heck yeah. Came back from the 2005 deployment and the lone survivor stuff, and picked up Spike. They'd gone overseas. You guys had already set up a kind of system, and our guys just kind of climbed on board with it. Went over and got the dogs in Holland, and Spike came back, and I was scared to death of him. I went and got Slim Jims, and at 7-Eleven on my way in, because I was going to meet him that day, and I cut him all up and shit. He was like, "Yeah, I think we can get along, right?" He was only about 62 pounds, and he was amazing. He was really smart, and I loved him, like in a probably not a healthy way. Like I was too close. Like he was, I was like emotionally like a 6-year-old, you know, and this dog to me was like love. And I still felt from the minute I saw him that I was responsible for him being good at his job, for him surviving it, because I'm asking him to do these things. Like, it was just clear to me, and I loved that connection. And then when I started to feel what the biology of hunting with that motherfucker was, like, that's like a heroine of its own.
Yeah.
And one night we went to do a hit. It was December 23rd. There were actually guys importing kids into Ramadi to be suicide bombers, you know, right? So we found out where they were located. We went to do the hit, and we had a squirter right off the bat, sent him, and he hit him, and hit him up here in the chest. And the guy grabbed him, bam, took him to the ground. Guy's a big guy. And I put a couple rounds into him. And one of them went through and hit Spike. And I didn't see it at the time, but the guy rolled over after I put some rounds into him. There was another shooter with me, and I ran towards the guy who had rolled off to take care of him. And as I was doing it, I yelled to my buddy. I was like, "Hey man, I think he broke his leg." And he's like, "No, Jimmy, he's really hurt." So he was kind of staggering, but he was trying to come back into the fight. So I snatched him by the thing, and I threw him over my back, and started running back to the initial insertion point, or the initial contact point, and you know where the PJ was. Yeah. And I felt him stop breathing on the way back. You know, I was running with him on my shoulder, and then I remember sitting down in the PJ looking at me, and he was just like, he's like, "I can't. There's nothing I can do." And my relationship with the dog was clear to everybody, a little bit extra than most people's, and it's just because I was emotionally a midget. But I remember sitting on the helicopter flying home with him, feeling his body get cold and stiff. And I look at these things that I do with the dogs now from behind that fucking gun.
Yeah.
So when I got home and I didn't know what to do with myself, after I had my meltdown and the police came to my house and kept me from fucking smoking myself and helped me get to a mental hospital, I didn't know what to do with myself because I thought I didn't really have anything to offer. I knew I was good at fighting and I could do stuff with dogs. So I went to the police department that had come to my house, and I said, "Hey, can I help you guys? I'm Jimmy Hatch. I used to do." And they're like, "Ah, we know who you are." and yeah, they didn't need my help.
Yeah.
But they knew I needed to like have an arm around me and have a job and have meaning, you know? And so I was doing that. And then one of their dogs needed a surgery, and the city's like, "Hey man, we're not going to cut." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This dog he's been shot at. He's
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't have the money?" Right. So I lost my shit. And it was right about the time I'd done an interview with Anderson Cooper, and we gotten to be kind of friends, and I talked about it. And then not long after that, it was Norfolk, Virginia, one of the dogs, a dog named Krieger, big fucking strong son of a bitch, got killed, hit a guy high, and a guy fucking put a couple rounds into him. And I actually sent the story to Anderson, and I was like, "Hey man, like, can you help? I started this little nonprofit. Can you help me out with this?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to give you my speaker's fee." I don't get paid to speak what Anderson Cooper gets paid to speak. But it changed everything.
Wow.
It changed everything. And he shook all the cops' hands, and he after that, for like the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, he really, like when he went on Celebrity Jeopardy, we would be his charity of choice. In fact, I went to DC to see that, and I'm like, "Hey man, thank you." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't win. If you're the winner, you win $50K.
Okay.
If you're the runner-up, you get $10K. Okay. He's like, "I'm embarrassed that I didn't win. I'm going to write you the check for the other $40K. I'm like, "Holy fuck,
I love
man."
that.
Yeah.
Didn't have to do that.
And it's funny too, because we'll go do these like police trainings, and they'll be like, "Anderson Cooper, that liberal." I'm like, "He's into us for over $1 million. So I don't think he's that fucking liberal. He likes cops and he likes dogs. I don't know if this is what you think he is, you know?"
Yeah.
What that showed me though was that a celebrity, a person who has that kind of, and will risk that his name on you and your cause is like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Then we started saving dogs. Dogs getting shot up. we could pay for their medical. We could pay for vests. We could pay for training. The woman who runs it, Emily, her husband's an EOD guy, pretty busy, tier 1 level guy. She's a tier 1 level, nonprofit Gestapo leader,
Okay.
right? It's beautiful. We're helping the dogs. It's also, I'm not going to lie, because we're about talking the truth here, it's really frustrating for me.
Yeah.
I feel like the law enforcement community could really use some help from our community.
Yeah.
And I think I can see why they're frustrated. People talk shit about it all the time. There's never a good story about cops doing anything good. It's always fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
They do so much good.
Exactly. And I think maybe sometimes people lose a little motivation. I've worked with police departments from Honolulu to fucking Boston, and there's good departments and good units, bad units, good.
Yeah.
I just wish as a collective community, it would pick itself up more, especially with the dogs.
Yeah, it's. I talked to him about dogs. It blows my mind. Most SWAT teams don't have a dog, and if they do, it's not a dedicated dog,
Right. Yeah.
and
it's the work they don't want to do.
Some of it's the work they don't want to do, and some of it's they just don't get the resources.
It's true.
And it's crazy to me is that having a dog can make things go right. I mean, everything you can do, training, budget, resources, lowers your risk. The police department, well, almost everyone, right? In the tactical, military, law enforcement, risk is what everyone's scared of. But for whatever reason, they won't allocate to that. But if something goes wrong, they'll pay out in civil court $1 million,
right?
When we could have saved that and done it right.
Yeah, or take half of it and give it to the right. No, I'm with you.
That's what so you have money.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably another reason that law enforcement folks are frustrated.
Yeah.
Oh, the city's happy to let somebody.
Right. It's even worse. What really gets me going is when the cop was cleared of all wrongdoing, yet they will still pay out in civil court and be like, well.
The guy who shot that dog in Norfolk, his family did that.
Well, man, I think that's awesome. It's awesome what you do. I tell people all the time, when you leave, it doesn't matter. Whatever profession you're in that you have an emotional attachment to, the way military does, the way cops can, firefighters can. You had a purpose, and now you're purposeless. You find a purpose, and for you get to have, interactions and get to help with the next generation of Americans through Yale.
Yeah.
You have the foundation, the canines, the Spike Canine Fund. And so I love that. I love that. Keep doing good things.
Thank you. I
have a purpose.
We don't have a choice. We don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I laid around for a long time whining and crying and feeling sorry for myself. And I'm not going to bust myself up too much over it because it's just part of life. But one thing I did not understand was that I kept looking around for places that were like our units. And what I had to realize is that I had to create that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't have the courage to do that. I didn't understand that I needed to do that.
Yeah.
But I also learned a couple of things, and I tell this to my students. I always had what I needed. I just didn't think I did. I always had what I needed to do what I wanted to do. And two, I was so worried about what other people thought about me. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. Everybody's worried about their own shit,
Right. Exactly.
Anyway.
Well, I got one last question for you that I always have, and then we'll take a small break. We'll go do the live. Especially with the canine stories. So I always like to leave people on a high note. Tell me a funny story. It's just that simple. It's just that blunt and that simple.
So we talked about Spike and when he died, but one of the funniest things, speaking of what people think about you, we were, when we patrolled, I would patrol with the recce guys up front. And we would get to kind of a ready point and we would stop. We'd pick up, he and I, one of the recce guys would pick a spot to kind of secure things where we could keep an eye on stuff. And Spike was with me. He didn't have his leash on. He was, he was pretty obedient, and I could keep him with me. So he was right next to me where he was supposed to be, and I was looking through the gun, and I was looking at the target, and we were at this kind of at an end of a concrete fence that was about 3.5 feet high, and I'm looking at the target out here, and the fence.
Take the microphone with you.
The fence is like right. The fence is like right here, and I'm looking at the target, and the other recce guy's standing there with me, and we're looking. He's kind of behind a little tree just for a little cover, and all of a sudden I hear, whoosh, and I felt Spike run, and he was moving this way, and I went whoosh, and I looked, and there was how in Iraq they would tie like goats and cattle up by like 1 foot, right?
Yeah.
So this cow, I didn't even hear it. I didn't know it was there. But I look over and there's Spike hanging from his throat like a fucking, jackal.
Off the
and
animal?
I'm like, off the cow. And I'm like, and we're right, the target's right there. And I'm like, hey, what the fuck? I'm whispering, I'm like, Spike, what the fuck?
Right. Yeah.
And the guy that's with me, his name is Greg. He's like, I'm like, hey, don't tell anybody about that shit. But we're like a couple hundred meters from this, But he was a dog. On his best day, he's still a dog.
That's right. Yeah. He's still a dog. He's a lethal dog, but he's still a dog.
Yeah, and he'd take a shit on the floor if he needed to.
Well, Jimmy, I can't thank you enough for coming down here, telling your story, spending time with us. I can't wait to do this live. Man,
Thanks, man.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
The pleasure was all mine. All right,
Thanks, buddy.
Let's go to the garage, smoke some cigars, and tell some stories, huh? Let's go.